Hey guys. Okay. Here we go. So far so good. I'm feeling okay. So we are live and we're going to create a Slimline card today. And I think it's going to be really cute. So sorry, I'm just bringing up the comments so that I could see them. For some reason, the other day I couldn't see the comments as they were going by. So, but first off, I wanted to talk about the layout I made the other day because I put the finishing touches on it. Just one sec. I think I need to switch mics. Is that better? For volume? Because it was telling me I was muted. So, okay. So somebody could give me a thumbs up about the sound if that's better. That would be awesome. So, earlier this week, I created this double page spread with the, Mothers Are the Best stamp set, and it was a super fun technique that we tried, and it all started off in my head, and I'm super glad that it came out good, or well, I guess, not good. So I've added my photographs, so I thought we would just quickly take a look at it, and then I'll create my card. So, because we're going to do something completely different with the card. So, after I finished, I played around in these clusters a little bit. So remember how we used the gold stickles on the flowers? After, awesome, thank you. After on the big flowers, I added some bitty beads. And on the small flowers, oh my goodness, sorry. I added sequins into them. And I think it just kind of finished it off perfectly. I added my title, and this was actually a title from the stickers for the lovely paper pack. And then obviously my stickles are all dry, and it was just such a lovely finishing touch on there. And then on here, this is the second page, and I did hidden journaling so I could tell the funny story about my sister and her color choices. And then this is more just about that it was my mom's milestone birthday, and we got her the photo shoot as her birthday gift. So I also added a sticker up here, and that's from that same lovely sticker sheet. And then you can see I did the same thing here. So there's the bitty beads on the big ones, the sequin on the smaller ones with just a little bit of stickles, and then a stickle center on this one, and same thing up here in this cluster. So I think it turned out really beautiful. So I think I've been asked a few times for like a little bit more instructions. So I will work on that, and we'll see it in the future. We'll just say that in the next little while. Okay. So we're going to do something completely different now, and we're going to flip from that lovely color palette, and we're going to move into something a little bit brighter and more colorful, and we're going to make a card with it. And this is one of my favorite techniques. I love this one, so I think you'll like it. Okay, so for my color palette, I've grabbed some inks, and you could do this with any colors that you want. Okay, but I have Lemonade, Nectarine, Raspberry, Glacier, Lagoon, and Sapphire. Okay, and then I have little bits of matching cardstock, my paper towel, a water brush, Versamark. So I don't know if you guys can figure out where we're going. White embossing powder, my anti-static pouch, and I have the 2 stamp sets, okay? So I just have more scraps if we need them, but I kind of think we're going to be good with what I have here. Okay. So then I've got White Daisy cardstock, and we are going to play with those stamps. So this is what we're going to do today. So we are going to stamp and heat emboss it with white, and then we're going to color it in with the colors along the Slimline card. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I do have, because I wanted quite a few of them, I've heat set a few, but we're going to actually create one of each right now. This is super hard because it is white embossing powder. You're going to have a hard time seeing it just because you can't see white on white, right? So, hey Gay, good morning to you. Okay, so I have my stamp. So I'm going to do, so I just want the flowers on this card. And I actually might not make it a Mother's Day card. I think I'm going to stamp my sentiment in the middle. We're going to play with it though, because nothing's ever final when I start. So I have this image and this one, okay? And so we're going to do one of each, and I'll do it like start to finish so you can actually see how I get them to look like this, okay? So I am going to put my anti-static powder down because we're using embossing powder, and I don't want the embossing little flakes all over the place. So I am just, okay, who's angry? Who did angry faces? Was it because I was choking? Okay, so here we go. Versamark. So for whoever doesn't know what this is, it's kind of a weird thing. It's clear but sticky. So I've just lightly brushed my surface with my anti-static pouch, and now I'm going to ink up my stamp, but it's clear, so you're not going to see anything, okay? I guess I could do it in a color so you could actually see, but we're making white ones. So, okay. So when I think we are good here, I'm just going to stamp down. Okay. And it makes that funny noise because it's sticky, right? It's like literally suction cut down onto my White Daisy there. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little one. Okay, so you could do as many as you want for the front of your card front. I'm going to cover this up. Okay, so I normally just actually do this over a piece of like copy paper, but I happen to have a new coffee maker and I don't need these filters anymore. So we're going to do it over the coffee filter. So I'm just covering it with White Daisy. Now, okay, there. In the light you can actually see it. So I've just put the white embossing powder on it, okay? So this then all goes back in here perfectly, like that. Okay, so now this is just one of our little craft containers, and I just label it on top as to the color so that I know what's inside. Okay, so now we're going to heat emboss it. It's just my heat tool is just plugged in underneath my table. It's going to get noisy for a little bit. So I'm just warming it up before I even take it to my paper. And you could do the same thing too with the greenery if you wanted to add the leaves and stuff. Okay, so it's warm. and I'm going to heat it from underneath. I'm going to try and hold it in the light so maybe you can see the magic happen. But as it heats, it's melting that embossing powder right to the White Daisy cardstock. Okay, so it's just starting to happen. So I always make sure that my heat gun is hot before I take it to my paper. And I do it from underneath because I find if I go from on top, I sometimes can melt everything. So you can see in the light when it is all done. So I'm just turning it every once in a while so I can see what's happening. Okay, so I'm gonna try and shift it. Just let me drop that. So you can kind of see it. You'll see the magic once we start to put color on it. Okay, so here are little scraps of my cardstock colors. Okay, so we're gonna make a slimline card. So my thought is we're gonna have these run along one edge like so, and then we're gonna have matching flowers run across the top of them. So it's gonna go like this. Okay, so we're gonna mix and match the big and small flowers, and we're gonna paint them with our inks. So the nice thing about having doing this technique is the colors I've picked out, I can actually make my card match. Sorry, that's the wrong banner there. That's so funny. Okay, so I grabbed a slimline card. We have slimline cards, bases, and envelopes. Okay, and so this we're gonna use, and then okay, that's so funny. So I just actually used the piece I want for my front, so we're gonna cut it again. So I just have another piece of White Daisy, and we're gonna cut it at 3 by 8 1/4. Okay, so see, I was trying to be all prepared, and then I heat embossed flowers on top of it. Okay, so 3. So I just want it because I'm going to pop it up on 3D foam tape on my slimline front. So I know this is white on white, and so it's probably, no, I need to go down. Okay, so there we go. We have 3 by, no, I want less of a border. So three and a quarter
8 1/4. See, I was trying to be all prepared and then I was over prepared. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so it's 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. I know you can't see the difference between the two pieces right now, but I am going to glue the colors down and then you'll be able to see it. So I cut these at 1 1/2, so they're all 1 1/2 inches high, and then they're varying widths to equal the length of my 8 1/4. So at the bottom I'm going to add the lemonade and work my way across to the sapphire. Okay, so some are a little bit smaller and some are the same. So I just wanted it to be a little bit varied across the bottom. And the card's going to go vertical in a second. I just want to get these down though. And I want to get them down so you guys could actually see what is going on, so that you're not looking at the white on white. Okay, so Sapphire, Lagoon, now we have Glacier, and Raspberry, Nectarine, and Lemonade. So there we go. Okay, so we've got our colors. So now we're going to make our flowers to match. So if I counted correctly, I think I should have more than enough flowers to go across the card. So once I start coloring, you'll be able to see. So I have a pile of the big ones here, just like I just did. So we'll do a few of them so you can see some color on here. So we'll start with, maybe we'll start at the bottom and we'll do we'll start with the lemonade and nectarine. So I'm just going to actually paint the flowers with my ink. So I have my water brush. I'm just squeezing my ink pad, so I've got color in the top. You'll see with the darker colors as we go, the ink in the top. You're probably not going to see it with the lemonade. So now here's how the magic happens. I'm just going to touch it down, and anywhere where there's actually the white embossing powder, it doesn't actually stay there. So you get that kind of watercolored effect using your inks. So we're going to make this one mostly yellow, and then we're going to do the one at the opposite extreme, mostly blue, and then we'll play with them along the way. Okay, so I've also got my nectarine here. So we'll open this one up too. So now I'm starting at the outside edge and I'm moving in. Okay, and then the embossing also makes it super easy to cut, like fussy cut out these flowers. So if I didn't say it before, I'm using the flowers from the Mothers Are the Best stamp set. Okay, so now, because I want it the darkest on the outside, and every once in a while I'm just going to clean off my water brush. Okay, so you can do, like I said, you could do this with any sort of combination of colors that you might have. So now I'll show you. I'm just going to fussy cut out really quickly this one, and I'll lay it down, And I'm not exactly sure, good afternoon, Leona. I'm not exactly sure how many we'll get across, like from one end to the other. So I'm gonna do one for the bottom and one for the top, and then we're gonna kind of work in the middle. So, and I think I've decided I'm just going to make my front pretty, and then I'm gonna save the sentiment to add to the inside, because I want the flowers just to be kind of the focus of the card. So, like I said, it creates this super pretty watercolor effect just with your inks. Okay, so this one is going to go down here by the yellow and the orange. Now we're going to do a big one for the other end, and then we're going to start filling in the middle. So you can see, so this little one is pink and orange. So I would kind of put that in that section there. Okay, so now we're going to do one for the top end, and that's the Sapphire and Lagoon. So the Sapphire is quite dark, so I'm not going to do too much of the Sapphire. Whew, I can't believe I was choking there at the beginning. That was not good, but it seems to have stopped now. Okay, so I know you're not going to see it, but you'll see it right away as soon as I start painting on here. And the nice thing is it gives you like the lines to color in, right? So if you want it a little bit lighter, make sure you've got lots of water. Okay. So I'm kind of just tapping it down. I'm not using watercolor paper. I'm just using regular white daisy cardstock. So you have to be careful. You don't want it like completely saturate. That's my water. I'm gonna spill it if I'm not careful. You don't want it completely saturated or you'll destroy your cardstock, right? But I'm hardly using any water, but I get a very pretty effect. Okay, so I'm bringing it down now a little bit lighter. So I have a little puddle of water here. I just squeezed a little bit out of my water brush. Okay, so now we're going to add in Lagoon. So now we kind of have like 3 different tones going because we have the Lagoon, we have the darker Sapphire, and then the lighter Sapphire. And if I want, I can go and I can make my edges a little bit darker to define them a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one. We're not going to cut that out just yet. So now we need to kind of fill in the space. So I'm going to do an orange and pink one here in the middle. And like I said, I'm not really sure how many will fit on the front, but I'm thinking like 4 at least. So see, it's so, the white on white is so hard to see. I can't even see which ones I've done. Okay, so here's the one that we just did. Ah, here they are. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna do an orange. How about we do an orange and pink one? So I have Nectarine and I have raspberry and I'm going to go with you, and you could do it either way, whichever way you prefer. And you can see I've done it different each flower, just kind of depending on what I want to make happen. So now I'm using my Nectarine first. Okay, and now I'm going to do my raspberry around my outside edges, and then I'll bring them together. Yes, I love the fact that they all turn out differently. It kind of reminds me of like when you do tie-dye and you mix them all like you put all your bands on and you dip it in your dye, and then when it comes out, you're always kind of like pleasantly surprised at the combination. So really, I'm not using a ton of ink, right? I'm just using what's in my lid. And like I said, I don't want it crazy wet because it is just white daisy cardstock. You can do the same thing on, obviously, watercolor paper too. So, and then you'll get color mixing, right, as you go. So now I'm going to add in a little bit stronger Nectarine with a little bit less water, like just tapping it down and on. And then I'll go back. So no, yes, I'm picking like freehand, but so I took the flowers from the Mothers Are the Best, and I have used Versamark and heat emboss the flowers down. So it creates then that effect like you're watercoloring and you're not really, right? So you can see none of the ink sits where I have my white embossing powder. Okay, and if I want to, I could even add a little bit of the yellow into the middle. So here's the lemonade, and if I want, I can even just add a little bit of it into the center, and this one will dry later. Okay, so I just need to cover them up or I'm going to end up with ink on myself. I'm going to flip these so you guys can see the color combinations as we go. So I'll try and get them all in the view like this. Okay, so now, so we have this Sapphire and Glacier one. We have the Lemonade and Nectarine one. This is Raspberry and Nectarine. This one is the Raspberry Nectarine. So now we just need to keep filling in, right? So now I'm going to trim this out because I just want to kind of see how much room I have. We're going to do one with the Glacier this time, but I just want to trim it down so we can see. So like I said too, with the embossing powder on there too, it gives you a nice edge to trim. Yes, this is one of my favorites. You could also do it with any of the colors if you preferred, like if you wanted to make them silver or gold. But the nice thing about this stamp set and the white is I think it highly makes it look like your freehand watercoloring. Okay, so we've got this one up there. And we'll trim out this one. So I'm just going to trim off the other one so I have a little less paper to deal with. When you're fussy cutting, if you get some of the paper out of your way, it's always better for you. So I was originally going to add the sentiment, like I said, to the front, but I think this is going to have so much going on. I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I think we might add some twine along here, and then I grabbed the In This Together dots that I think will intersperse between the flowers too. Okay, so we kind of go like that. Right, so now we're going to fill in up there. And then we'll do another big one in the middle too, probably. And so I'm thinking I was right about the right number. Okay, so now we're going to go Lagoon and Glacier to fill in here. So here's my Glacier. And there's my Lagoon. Okay, so Lagoon is going to be quite light, but I'm going to use that in the middle. So again, you can go either way that you want, from the inside out. And this might actually not even be enough color. Okay, now I've got a little bit more color. Okay, now I'm going to lay in my Lagoon and then I'll get them to meet in the middle. And I totally almost dropped that doing it up in the air, but it'll be okay. I'm just trying to lift it up so you guys can see, but I need enough room underneath. And I know because it's white on white, it's super hard to see. So, but you can see as I fill it in how it's coming together. And it kind of depends on which you prefer. You can tell I'm going back and forth between the two, like the light and then the dark. So it's totally up to you as if one way works better for you than the other. Okay, so now I've got my Glacier. I'm going back in here. So, and if I wanted, I could, if I was going down here more, add in some of the raspberry, right? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just dropping a little bit of water so that I get a more muted lagoon. Okay, so this will dry a little bit lighter because I've got more water going in there. So now you can see it's hard to tell, like I said, because we've got the white on white going. Okay, so this one we're gonna go in here with. So then I want one big one right here, and I'm gonna go with lots of the raspberry. because it's the brightest, and a little bit of the Glacier. And then we might do a few of the small ones to kind of fill it in, is what I am thinking. So I'm just going to give this a second to dry before I start cutting it out. Okay, so I've got my raspberry. I'm probably not going to need that again. Okay, so I've got my raspberry and my Glacier. With the Glacier, I maybe should have gone with re-inker, but that's okay. We are good. Okay, so this flower, I want it predominantly, like I said, because it's going to go here. I want a lot of the raspberry. So I'm going to do a lot of the raspberry. I might even add in a little bit of the lemonade in the middle. We'll just see how this turns out. Okay, and I'm going to do the Glacier around the outside edges, right? I'm moving the flower exactly the same way as I have the cardstock attached to the card base. So I'm going to make all my main leaves petals. They're not leaves. Petals. Raspberry. Okay. And I'm just squeezing out some of the water onto my paper towel to clean my brush. Okay, so now I'm just going to drop little bits of the Glacier around the outer edge of this flower, so it'll tie these two together. Okay, so this one is going to go here like that. So I'm going to do a couple little ones, and we'll see if how we're going to tuck those in. So here is some of the small ones. See, I can't even see them on my desk because they're white on white. And I've got the card base. Oh, here they are. That's why, because they're way up there. Okay, so maybe we'll do an all Glacier one to have back here. So this is just the smaller floral image. And I'm just going to tuck this, I think, in the back there. Okay, but I think let's just touch the tips of the leaves with a little tiny bit of the sapphire. So I really tiny little bit. Just on the outer part of the leaves. So the fun part is you can literally see it separate as soon as it hits all the embossing powder. And you don't really have to worry about going over because we're fussy cutting it out anyway, right? So, okay, and this one, maybe we will just drop a little bit, because this is a different floral image. I'm just going to put a little bit of the yellow in the middle. Okay, and I'm just going to let this one dry before we cut that one out. Okay, and then I'm going to do one for here. Let's see. Okay, so we've got this one going like that. So I think we will go a little tiny bit. I don't need sapphire. So in the center here, we're going to just do a tiny little bit of the Nectarine. So like I said, because this image is slightly different than the big one, it does have a center and it will pick up a little bit of the color in the middle. So I'm just defining the center there a little bit. Okay. And then I'm mostly going to do raspberry. Okay. And then maybe we'll do this, a little touch of Nectarine at the outside edges. Just like that. Okay, so I think this is going to be enough flowers now. So we are just going to start cutting them out and putting them in. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of this water off the top of my raspberry. But I never clean them up unless I've got like quite a bit of water in there. I don't really worry about it. Okay, so I'm going to lay these across the top so you guys can see the colors again. And really, it's just a matter of playing. And this is a super fun technique to play with. You can do all sorts of fun things with it. Okay. So, we don't need that anymore. Okay, so let's cut these out. And then, so like I said, I did grab, okay, so my thought is we're going to put some twine here. And then we're going to add our flowers. And then I might add some of these, not the purple because they don't match, but some of these dots in along the way. So these are from the In This Together. So like I can use the yellow and the orange, and this is Glacier and a little bit of the blue to kind of just intersperse them. And then I'm going to pop this up on 3D foam tape. So here we go. So I'll just cut out the last ones, and then we can figure out what we're doing here. There we go. So these are still for sure just a little bit wet, but I'm not really worried about it. It just makes the cardstock a little bit soft to cut. But it's not like, they're not running because it's ink. It's not actually like watercolor. So then you could use those same techniques if you wanted from that layout for the center. So like if you wanted, you could add the bitty beads to the middle of the big ones. you could add the sequins to the little ones if you wanted. So the layout turned out beautiful. I'm so excited, considering that layout started in my head as a concept. Sometimes they don't all come out of my head the way I see them in my head, but that one turned out pretty good. So for whoever didn't see the final result at the beginning, I'll show it one more time at the end. But the triangle was fun, and we used this stamp set in a completely different way, right? All with like tone on tone stamping and rock and roll. So, and this one, the color palette is completely different. So the end result looks completely different, right? So I could do that same layout and pull with this color palette too and use these kind of flowers on the layout. Okay, so like that. And so then we have this one. And then one more little one. Yep. Okay, so I might put my twine on the piece we're going to pop up first before I attach my flowers, because I just think that might be easier. So because I want to pop up the whole panel on 3D foam. So this will be, once I take photographs too, it'll be easier for you guys to see. I know that it's super hard to see like on camera, but they are fun. Okay, so this is kind of what I think we're gonna do. So we're gonna move these over. Okay, so this is just, like I said, 1/4 of an inch smaller than our slimline base. So I just have mink twine, and I'm going to pull off a long piece because I'm going to wrap it around a few times, I think. And I have my bone folder, and I'm just going to run it through between my finger and my bone folder just to flatten it out just a little bit so it's not quite so kinked. I don't know who saw me do this. I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. And I was like all excited. I was trying to do it quickly. And I did that and I ended up tying my whole thing in a knot. That was fun. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it around a few times and tie it. And then I can move my knot around to where I want it. This color combination would be great on a layout too. As like a border up both sides of a layout. Maybe we'll have to do that too. Okay, so just Just going to untwist it. And then I'm going to add it to my card base. Okay, and like I said, I am going to pop it up on 3D foam tape. Okay, so I'm going to try and use up this first, because I might have been working on a workshop yesterday, just saying, and I go through a lot of 3D foam tape. So but I always have like tons of rolls of it started. Okay. So I'm just, the advantage to adding the 3D foam tape on the back is A, you don't get that bump from the twine, and I knew I wanted the surface raised anyway, so we kind of got dual purpose going on there. I wanted the illusion of the depth of the card. Okay, I'm just going to check that my card is in the right direction before we actually glue this baby down, because this is a lot of 3D foam tape, and if I'm wrong, I'm not going to be able to move it. So, okay, it's going to open like that. So we're going to go like this. So you could totally add the message on the front too. I thought it would look fun with like a dark cardstock with the message also heat embossed in white onto the front. Okay, so like I said, this is a lot of 3D foam tape if I miss. So let's hope. There we go. Okay, I like that. And I'm good with this placement. So I'm just going to trim these off and use my piercing tool. You could obviously also do this on like just a regular A2 size card, and you wouldn't need as many flowers as I did. You could make these smaller, thinner, right? So now we're going to just play with them. So before I start adding my 3D foam tape onto what I want. Yes, I think a page would be beautiful. Okay, so I think that is what we're going to do with them. So we're going to glue these down. And then, like I said, I want to be able to add the dots in and around. So some of them I'm going to add flat. Some I'll pop up on thin foam tape, and then some I will do on 3D foam tape. So this one here, I'm going to make flat. This one I'm going to do thin, and then that one I'm going to do thick. If I wanted it to pop up even more, you could add 2 layers of foam tape, but I think that because I also have it underneath, I don't need another layer of tape, right? So like that. Now this one I'm going to do thick. And I'm not going to put it where I have the twine behind, right? So just on those, like the 2/3 that, because the flower is actually resting on the twine, so I don't need foam tape underneath there. So there we go. Now this one, maybe I'll do thin on. So like I said, this totally reminds me of like tie-dyeing, right? All the fun color combinations you could have happen. Okay, and this one is going to be flat. You could even add like a sentiment piece in right here if you want it. So no, I did not tie-dye those shirts. They're from the Gap. But I don't know if anybody saw, but in the summer, my daughter and niece did like, what's it called? Like reverse tie-dye, where you do like the black and the bleach. That was so cool. That was lots of fun. They did that here. And I've done tie-dye, we've done tie-dye over the course of the years too, with the kids at different points. Hannah's actually had to do it for a ton of different times for school, for things. I'm leaving this space because I want room to actually add some dots too, not just the flowers. So yes. Yes, yes. Judy says, as a weaver, I also dye from shirts, from yarn to t-shirts and other things, and bleach too. Yeah. We typically do it, the kids have done it, like all the grandkids do it at the lake with my mom, because they can be messy there and it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now we just need to add the dots in, but I think that's pretty. So same thing, I'm just going to kind of follow the same color pattern with the dots and fill in my spaces where I know I want the dots. So, what do you think? So I kind of like how it turned out. And I don't know that I'm going to add any more. So, that's it. That's what I have for you guys today. So it turned out, I think, really pretty. So now I'm going to add my sentiment on the inside. So, and you could do it if you wanted, obviously, this way too. And you could totally adapt it for an A2 size card too, like I said. So I'll just go over it quickly what we did for anybody that missed the beginning. So we used the thank you, the stamp set, the same stamp set I used earlier this week. So it's called Mothers Are the Best, and it's the Mother's Day stamp from Close to My Heart. And we heat embossed the flowers, so the big and the small flower, with white embossing powder, and then we watercolored them with our inks in the a layout would be beautiful, wouldn't it? With the colors above. Maybe I'll have to create some sort of class for the membership group. So then we used twine, we used the dots from In This Together. So I'll just show you too the layout for anybody that missed it at the beginning. The layout that I did earlier in the week. So there's a full process video. And so this too is a really good example. Like, look how different, right? So these flowers, we did background stamping and rock and roll, and we added shimmer brush, not shimmer brush, we added stickles, and then after I did bitty beads and sequins. But then, like, look at the difference, right? It looks completely different, and it's exactly the same stamp set. So, but this is the layout that I did the other day. If you're looking for the video, is farther just down in the feed. So we created the triangles and added the stickles. We made all these clusters. Like I said, after I thought that the clusters needed something. So I added sequins to the smaller flowers, and then bitty beads to the bigger ones. And then I added a flip-flop here with my journaling. So that's what I've got for you guys today. And for whoever has been asking, my You Are Good Enough, You Are Enough scrapbooking workshop is posted on my blog. I'm having some how did you glue the sequins and the bitty sparkles. So the sequins, because I actually had stickles underneath, the sequin I just had to put on top. And when the stickles dried, it was set. So, but for the bitty beads, I just dropped a little bit of liquid glass. I can actually show you. So here. I have extra from the other day. So I just throw them in my pocket, right? Okay. So here's a big one. We'll add bitty beads to it. No, I want white ones. So for the big flower, like that, I'm just going to add okay, so I just put like a dollop of liquid glass there. And you could pick them up one by one with your tweezers, or you can just kind of drop them. And actually they land not bad on the actual flower. And then if I felt I needed more, I could just put them in. But they just literally will sit on top of that glue like that. So that was the middle that I really liked for those bigger flowers. And then I'll show you what I did with the smaller ones exactly. So here is, so see, I did the same thing on this small one and I didn't like it. I felt that the beads were too much for that little flower. Okay, I don't have, here. We need to stamp. It's just, I've got Versamark on my, here's a piece of white daisy. Okay, and we're gonna pretend like I did the background already. Okay, and that's not perfect stamping, but we're gonna go with it, okay? So, if this was the other one that I did, then I just put I just need another bottle of stickles. So we'll pretend like I had my background done already, right? So I just did, like you saw in the other video, the little middles, I added stickles in the center, right? Like this. And I did actually add it in the middle, and I didn't like it because I didn't think it was enough definition of the center. So then I literally just left the stickles like that, picked up whichever color sequin you want. We'll just go with the white, and while that stickles was still wet, I could just lay it in there. So, or you could do liquid glass if you wanted, you could do a glue dot, but because I had it there already, that's all I did. So we'll pretend that that background had been stamped. I just didn't want to put the whole background, pull the background stamp out too. So that's what I did on the layout. And that was just some finishing touches that I added when I added the pictures on, because I didn't feel like there was enough variety or definition in the flowers, but they actually turned out really nice. So, and I like the fact that they're different. So each size flower has a different element, right? So the big ones have the bitty beads. The I guess middle ones have the sequin and the stickles, and then this little tiny one that I have in the clusters just has a dot of stickles. So I got all kinds of different textures going on with very little effort, right? So, and then like I said, I just added the title after and the rest of the photographs with the journaling. Okay, so that is what I've got for you guys today. And if you have any more questions, just ask. I'm happy to answer them. And apparently I need to replenish my stickles situation. All my stickles are like right at the end part. So, or I should start storing them upside down, I guess, would be my other option. So there we go, guys. So this, I love doing this. There's so many different things that you could do with this. But it is one of my favorite things to do. and it's not very hard. And because you're heat embossing it, you kind of get like a super, oh, you're welcome, Leona. You sort of get like a super easy cheat for watercoloring. So I'll take some pictures and I'll add them in here this weekend. So as always, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll just have to see what's going to happen next week. You never know. Okay, talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.